Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Stretching at Your Desk. Today we'll take a little movement snack, focusing a little more on the lower back and some of those structures that can be a bit congested when we're sitting all day. So to start, let's begin sitting up nice and tall. Try to stack shoulders over hips, ears back over shoulders. And just take a moment, interlock your fingers, push your palms up towards the ceiling, stretching up nice and long through the sides of the body. Maybe even bringing the chest forward, leaning back slightly. Coming back in through center, letting the arms come down. Maybe a couple shoulder rolls going backwards. And let's warm up the lower body a little bit. So if you don't have arms on your chair, you can do this gently sliding your hands down along the side of your body. If you do, you can keep your elbows bent and just tilt side to side. Let's lean down one way first. Keeping both sides of your bum anchored on your seat, the side that you are leaning towards, you're going to feel compressed through the side. Other side opening up. We can even reach up and over ahead to add a little more pull in through the rib cage. Nice, coming up through center. Same thing on the other side. That arm sliding down. Feeling yourself tilt over to the other side of the body opening up, maybe reaching arm up and over. Taking a couple breaths, imagining that you can breathe into this whole side body here. Coming back up through center. Good. This time doing a little bit of a twist. So you can bring one hand onto your desk. You can reach for your chair behind you. Try to keep your hip bones pointing forwards as the chest and shoulders move over to one side. Stretching the same muscles we stretched here. We're just stretching both sides of the back as opposed to when we did our one side at a time, we were stretching unilaterally or one side at a time. Coming back in through center, hip bones stay pointing forward as you come to turn to the other side. Notice how it feels. You may have more or less range available, just depending. Some things that can also affect this is if you sit cross-legged. We tend to prefer one leg over the other, which can change the pressure and the use points of our pelvis over time and some of those attaching muscles. Good. Coming back through center. Let's do a little bit of pelvic tilting. You won't be able to see too much here, so you can do it seated, but I'm going to stand up so that you can see this motion a little bit easier. I'll move my chair out of the way. So from your seat, I want you to imagine rolling back onto your tailbone like you're pulling your hip bones and your ribs a little closer together. Coming back through neutral. And now push your bum out behind you, really arching that back, stretching the space between the hip bones and the ribs. Coming back through neutral, rounding the low back, maybe even pushing it into the back of your chair. Back and through center. And opening up the other way. Good. Back and through center. One more. Round your back, really push in, closing that distance. Back up through center. And pushing out behind you. Great. From here, we're actually going to get up out of our chair. You can move your chair out of the way and use your desk, but just so you can see me a bit more clearly, I'm going to use the back of my chair. So I am standing, reaching for the back of my chair. It's a little further out of length. I'm going to start by hinging forward at the hips, keeping a nice flat back, tucking my chin in, and then I'm pushing my bum and my back out behind me. Feeling that stretch come in through the low back and the mid back. Good. Coming back up through center. Just going to shift so you can see me a little easier. Let's do this one more time. Hinging at the hips, coming forward. Reach forward, tuck your chin in so it stays in line. And now from here, pull the belly button forward, come back into that arching position, lift your bum out behind you. Let the chest drop. Push back up into neutral. And then round your back as much as you can without losing that length. So you're still pushing your bum behind you. Coming back into neutral. Drop the belly button forward, lift the hips down. Coming back into neutral. Letting the back round. Good. Coming up, let's stay standing. Again, I'm just moving up here so that you can see me a little bit easier. We've done a little bit of stuff through the low back. Let's also do a little bit of movement for the pelvis. So leaning into one leg, lift your knee up in front of you, opening it out to the side. Draw that knee circle down to join the other knee. Coming up in front of you, reaching out along beside you. Coming down to join the other knee. One more, nice and slow. Good. Go the other direction. Reaching out behind you. Coming in front. Touching down. Coming out. In front. Pushing down. Last one. Out. In front. Pushing down. Same thing other side. Get your balance on the other leg. Knee comes up in front to start. Opens wide to the side. And draws in to meet the other leg. Pushing up. Out. And down. Last one in this direction. Out. And down. Notice what happens on the other side. Change directions. Reaching out. The midline, knees come together to join, out to the midline, knees coming together to join, last one. Great. From here, let's do that nice big tall stretch again, reaching all the way up to the ceiling. Try to make sure your chest and hips don't pull forward. So you can see from the side, I want my hips stacked over my knees. I want my shoulders over my hips. I want my ears over my shoulders. And then letting our hands come down. Tuck your chin in, hands coming on the front of your legs. Let yourself, very slow motion, ragdoll forward, feeling your back body round. Coming down. If it's tight through the back of the legs, you can bend through the knees, no problem. More important to get that rounding through the spine. Taking a big breath here. And pushing through your heels, slowly rounding up. Imagine you can feel those vertebrae stacking from the low back and slowly, slowly coming up. The nose is the very last thing that lifts. Shoulders coming behind you. Good. Rounding forward again. Hands sliding down the front of your thighs. Letting that back body round. Bending through the knees as you need to. Slowly coming back up. Good. And similar to how we started, do that side to side slide one more time. Hand sliding down one side of the body, tilting over. Maybe you reach up and over. Adds a little bit of strain. Try to keep the chest pointed forward. Notice what happens to your breathing here. From here, tuck your chin in, your upper arm. We're going to reach forward, round forward. Notice how that stretch comes a little more into the back body. See if this feels easier, harder, just different. Coming all the way back up into center. This hand comes down, sliding first to the other side. So hips and shoulders stay facing forward. Maybe the other arm reaches up and over. Notice your breath. Tuck your chin in, reach forward, round forward. Feel how the stretch comes into the side body. Notice what you feel. Good. And coming all the way back up. And then from here, we'll come back down to sit in our chair. Taking a moment, getting our hips back in that neutral position. So maybe you tilt them all the way forward, roll them all the way back, try to find a nice position of ease between them. Once you find the hip shape, allowing the spine to be nice and tall, nice and long. And then let's come into our twists one more time. So hips staying pointing forward. We are twisting or rotating through the belly, through the chest. Maybe it feels good to look behind you over that shoulder. Maybe you keep your head more in neutral. Notice how this twist feels compared to the first one we did. And coming back through center, same thing other side. Make sure hips are staying pointed forward, twisting over, checking in, noticing how this one feels. And coming back into the center. And with that concludes our little desk stretch, our moment of reprieve in the day, or movement snack. I hope you're feeling better. It's good to repeat these throughout the day. The low back takes a ton of strain throughout our day, so repeat as often as needed.